Welcome to all dignitaries and dear students from all over the country attending this national webinar on making students habitual for online learning. I'm Assistant Professor Vinod Kumar Ashok Pradhan from the Department of English. First of all, as the convener of this webinar, I offer my sincere gratitude towards the founder of our Jai Shivra Education Society, late Honorable Sadashivravji Mandlik, ex-Member of Parliament, the Secretary and now acting Member of Parliament, Honorable Sanjay Dada Mandlik, and blooming young leader, Advocate Virendra Bhaiya Mandlik. Respected Principal, Dr. Eddie Kumbar, and my dear colleagues. Friends, we all know very well that whole world is affected by the pandemic COVID-19. They are being blocked down and locked down for safety and precaution. But there are doctors, scientists, police, essential services providers, municipal workers, and leaders in the society who are bravely fighting to knock down the situation. Still, the process of teaching learning is never blocked or locked down. We too are supporting them by working from home. Friends, in our country, there are a number of colleges situated in rural areas. There are some technical issues regarding online teaching, learning, streaming, video, audio recording, sharing, giving assignments and assessment of the same, availability of gadgets, economical conditions of the students, if available, the problems of network and its frequency are there. Those who are well versed with all these can keep pace with the time, but what about the teachers following traditional teaching process? Now, this very problem and theme has made our Department of English for the endeavor to organize this webinar. From the bottom of my heart, I appreciate the participants for their registration and giving us a support. Of course, it's the unanimous effort of our principal, colleagues, technically supporting team to design, circulate, upload, broadcast the webinar for you on YouTube, Google Meet interaction session, and distribute your certificates. I'm sure you are going to enjoy the whole session by a renowned scholar from Punjab, Mrs. Savita Grover. Now I request my colleague, Dr. Mrs. M.S. Patil, to introduce the resource person of today's webinar. With this, I wish you a very happy session. Thank you very much.
Good morning, everybody. In the background of COVID-19, the whole world is suffering through various problems. One of the greatest problems is teaching learning process. This harsh situation today is rejecting the traditional classroom teaching method. So now it is mandatory to apply online process. But this new approach of acquiring knowledge is creating certain hurdles in the way of the students. So Department of English of Sadashivram Mandlik Mahavidyalaya Murgud is taking an effort to simplify this process by organizing a national webinar on making students habitual for online learning. First of all, I welcome all of you to this webinar. Today, we are going to have the precious thoughts of an eminent personality, Mrs. Savita Grover. I feel overjoyed to introduce this great personality. At each significant phase of her life, Mrs. Grover has reflected her academic talent. She has passed NET examination and has also done PGCTE at Hyderabad University. For last 12 years, she has been working as an assistant professor of English at Punjab University, SSG Regional Center, Hoshiarpur. Presently, she is pursuing her PhD from the same university. She has organized several conferences and events at national as well as international level. She has also delivered a number of lectures at national as well as international level. She has published a number of articles and chapters in various journals. She has also presented articles at various conferences and seminars. Such a great personality is honored with various awards like All-Rounder Best Student in 2004, Best Instrumentalist, Best Vocalist in Zonal Youth Festival. Currently, she is in charge of NSS of Girls Wing in her institution. Recently, she has organized Equitos 20, the first national law cum cultural festival. Once again, I welcome this great personality and all of you to this webinar. Thank you. Thank you very much.
A very good morning to all of you. Thank you, Dr. Mrs. Patil, for introducing me. As you all know, I am Savita Grover, Assistant Professor in English at Punjab University, Swami Sarvanand Giri Regional Centre, Hoshiarpur, and the topic of my presentation is making students habitual for online learning. Before formally beginning with the topic, I would like to convey a heartfelt thanks to Dr. A.D. Kumbhar, Principal Sadashiv Rao Mandalik Mahavidyalaya, Murgur, for giving me an opportunity to present my viewpoints on this topic, on this very dynamic topic. A very special thanks to Dr. A.D. Joshi, Head of Department and IQAC Coordinator, for considering me worthy enough to deliver a lecture on this topic. Very special thanks to Mr. Vinod Pradhan and Professor D.P. Salunke, HOD Psychology Department, for giving me all the technical support that I required for this session. Thank you, both of you. Thank you, Mrs. Patil, again. And a very special thanks to my dear audience who are present here today to listen to me. And now to formally begin with my topic, that is making students habitual for online learning. So as I said, the topic is making students habitual for online learning. There are two key points, if you notice in the title itself, that is students and learning. These are the two major objectives that we have all gathered here for. And however, the primary focus will stay on the students. Next slide. These students are from rural areas, hilly areas. They are not even tech savvy. They don't even possess a cell phone, and some of them actually don't have any kind of access to the internet. So these are the major challenges that as teachers we all share. All of us as teachers actually share the same challenge. Next slide. The other objective is learning, which I will be specifically online learning, which throughout my presentation I'll be referring to as e-learning. If you ask me the definition of e-learning, I'll simply define it my own words, that it is the use of electronic devices to facilitate education outside the traditional classroom setup. This means online learning with the use of internet in the form of digital learning, distance learning, electronic learning, all these add to the world of e-learning. It is a kind of a virtual classroom where although the students and the teacher, the professor, they're not physically present, but the very essence of a classroom, that is interactive sessions, is maintained. The teacher and the taught, they interact, they communicate with each other. Heads are joined together, problems are solved. This e-learning is actually the latest trend in education, but ironically, due to the worldwide pandemic situation today, it has become the need of the hour. It has highly become imperative in the topical times, as it seeks to curtail the chances of community transmission of COVID-19. Students and teachers all across the world are consistently making use of technology and other modes that are online modes, I would say, of education to impart and receive knowledge. The students and the teachers are using several methods like virtual classrooms, social media platforms, mobile learning, and other e-learning modules to substantiate e-learning as such. Yes, next slide. So to begin with, I'll be focusing on the benefits of e-learning first. The primary benefit is, yes, it is to save time and money. You can access the platform anywhere, anytime, Recorded lectures can be saved for future reference also. There is no wastage of paper, there is no wastage of money. In a nutshell, it saves you your many sources of your energy. And better retention, of course, since the real classroom atmosphere is full of disturbances, physical and mental barriers. Sometimes it is too hot, it is too cold, and perhaps it rained outside, the light went out, there is darkness in the room. Unlike all these things, a virtual classroom, or you can say an e-learning classroom, offers better atmosphere, physically and mentally, both ways, and thus it becomes a catalyst, a kind of a catalyst for better retention. Consistency is one of the major advantages of e-learning. You can have as many participants as in an e-learning module, in an e-learning classroom. Of course, as per our authorities have restricted that there can be a fixed number of students in one section. There are allocated seats for one course. In an e-learning classroom, you don't need so many participants. You don't need to put a barrier on the class number of participants. The size of classroom actually doesn't matter. Sometimes you can have as many participants, more participants than a real classroom. Convenience, you have 24/7 access to the content within your comfort zone. It is self-paced. Being self-paced, students can access their online classes at their own leisure as and when they are comfortable. Next slide. E-learning also helps in building a world community. Now this word, a world community, I'll be focusing on in the later slides as well. The world community this e-learning helps in building is now devoid of any kind of gender divide or in other forms of discrimination. Thus it is a kind of a classroom where there is no discrimination at all. It is quite helpful. Even academic collaborations are built in strong academic collaborations are built in with the help of e-learning. Transparency is maintained. Transparency in curriculum designs is maintained. There is no difference between first benchers and the back benchers. Now everyone is at par. The teacher doesn't need to focus on only on the first benchers, or the back benchers don't have that edge of making or disturbing the class. Everyone is now the first bencher. Everyone gets complete attention. Okay, mobile learning has brought classroom in everyone's pocket. New apps for e-classrooms like Zoom, WebEx, Google Meet, Google Classrooms, they have made education easily accessible to most of the student population of India. The recent rise in the trend of e-learning has attracted several foreign investors in India even during these times of pandemic, when the whole country is facing an economic crisis. What a huge sign of relief it is that foreign investors like Zuckerberg, Bertelsmann and others have invested a huge amount, as near as $100 million in Indian education sector that supports e-learning. Next slide. With this, I would say, yeah, the future of e-learning in India is very great, as there has been a rise in demand of, special online courses that deal in photography, personality development, forensic science, cyber law, management, gender issues, etc. I think that this is quite a good sign that India is moving towards e-development. That is what I call it. Next slide. Now I'll be discussing on the effects of COVID-19, the present situation on education sector. There is no denying the fact that today education sector is one of the worst hit sectors, specifically in India and around the world actually, by this pandemic. In India, we know of, as colleagues, we all know about so many of our friends, colleagues who have, they have been rendered jobless. Some of them haven't even received salaries for months. And as parents, as students, we are also worried that when will the classes begin? What should we do? People are finding it hard even to pay the school fee. People are finding it hard even to pay the admission fee. So definitely education sector is one of the worst hit sectors by this pandemic. More than 16% of world's total population has turned to the online mode of learning. I would like to make it a point over here that this makes 1.2 2 billion students across the world who are shut in their homes due to this pandemic. As per the UNESCO report, an estimated number of about 0.32 billion students, both from schools and colleges, have been affected in India during this pandemic. As a result, education and the methods of education have also changed dramatically. Now the special focus is on e-learning in the form of digital teaching, even in remote areas and rural areas. Everyone has resorted to e-learning mode of teaching. Next slide. As per a Google report, digital dependence in India grew considerably during lockdown. There was 5 times growth in online searches in third week of the lockdown, which later grew considerably with the increase in lockdown. There has been a substantial growth in registrations in MHRD educational apps like Swayam, ePathshala, NEET, Swayam Prabha, etc. Even private educational ventures like Baiju, Vedantu, Unacademy, Topper, they have seen millions of new users amidst the COVID-19 pandemic. All these digital e-learning platforms have actually seen an exponential growth in their usage during the lockdown period, due to the coronavirus. MHRD has launched several online projects and courses for the students, scholars, teachers and academicians. These projects have been designed for every age group, from school-going students to postgraduate students. Next slide. Now the point is this digital divide, bridging the digital divide amidst COVID-19. In order to bridge the digital divide for the students from classes 1 to 12, the MHRD has launched 32 channels under the program Swayam Prabha. This Swayam Prabha is a group of 32 DTH, door-to-home channels devoting to telecasting of high-quality educational programs on 24/7 basis using the GSAT-15 satellite, if I am not wrong. Every day there is a new content for at least 4 hours, which is repeated 5 more times in a day, allowing the students to choose the time of their convenience. The channels are uplinked from Bisaj, Gandhinagar. The contents for these channels are provided by NPTEL, IITs, UGC, CEC, IGNOU, NCERT and NIOS. The InflipNet Centers maintains the web portal. Next slide. The DTH channels, these shall encapsulate what they work on. They encapsulate higher education, school education from 9 to 12th class, curriculum based courses for academicians and keen learners, assisting students from 11th to 12th classes who aspire for competitive exam. All this information is also available on the site that I have mentioned over here, that is https://www.swayamprabha.gov.in, or you can also access all this information by simply downloading the Swayam Prabha app on Google Play. Next slide. In a similar attempt, MHRD has also initiated the ePathshala that provides free access of ebooks to the students. These ebooks have been designed specially for the students of classes 1 to classes 12. The students can access these books on both website and app. A similar step is ePG Pathshala, which has been specially designed for postgraduation students. And other steps also include eShodh Sindhu, Shodh Ganga. This is on next slide. Shodh Shuddhi, eYantra, Vidwan, Sakshat and NEET. These are other sanctuaries of knowledge designed specially for the students and research scholars. The National Digital Library also provides e-content to the students in various disciplines. A huge amount of content in the form of text, audio, video, simulations, graphics is available in this library. And please, this library does not curtail only to the language, English language as such. We have data in this library, in National Digital Library, of around 300 languages. And next slide. The list doesn't actually stop here. Bharat Padhe Online, Vidyadaan 2.0, PM eVidya, spoken tutorials, tutorial in IT application. Several state governments, this tutorial in IT application provides self-training in IT fields, information technology fields. Several state governments have also initiated in this direction. Attempts like Smile from Rajasthan, Abhyasa from Andhra Pradesh, Ghar Se Padhao Abhiyan in Haryana government. Haryana government has initiated this. Unnayan, yeah, Mera Mobile, Mera Vidyalaya by Bihar government are some of the incredible initiatives by these state governments in this direction during the pandemic. There are also plans by the Indian government for future plans for radio podcasts, where TV is not accessible, people can access the radio. Especially content programs for people with visual and hearing impairments are also being made. Next slide. Challenges. Now the point is, the government is providing us with so many facilities. Still there are challenges. What are these challenges? The first, we need to think about it. See, the Constitution of Indian Republic, it guarantees the right to education to every Indian. I say always that it is easier said than done. The very structure of Indian society is actually full of several culture-based, gender-based, developmental, regional, linguistic, class and caste-based, digital divides. To top all a digital divide as such. These divides have structurally imbalanced the Indian education system. And there is no denying the fact that COVID-19 has adversely affected the digitally deprived children. Most of the Indian household, these digitally deprived children, I would say, are further divided on economic grounds, developmental ground. That means if they belong to the rural areas, they don't have access to the internet and other facilities like computer, etc. And are even divided on gender divides. That is, girls are not allowed to use phones and internet in certain places, and most of the Indian households also do not have any access to the television also. Next slide. Now, what are the challenges for these people? The major challenges for these people are, first one is switching over to Android has proven a Herculean task for the older generation, specifically the older teachers who are on the verge of retirement. Here I am reminded of a story of a story that I got to know a few days ago about a 55-year-old professor who was already on the verge of retirement, and he was called by his principal and he told him that either start taking online classes or leave the job. Now the problem is the person is already on the verge of retirement, and he said, okay, I'll try. He first bought the professor, who was actually very contented with the small cell phone that he had simply to receive and make calls. He switched over to an Android phone. He bought an Android from the market, and then he set up a account on it, let's say a Zoom app account on it or some other apps on it, WebEx and Google Meet, whatever. And then he forwarded, with the help of his daughter, he forwarded the link to his students, and somehow an uninvited student entered the class. He could not stop him while he was delivering the lecture. As I'm told, this professor was a physics teacher, so he had also bought a board with him, a whiteboard, or you can say a chalkboard with him. He had bought some chalks also to deliver the lecture, and while he was solving the numericals, this uninvited guest started saying things that were actually not reasonable in the class. At the best, what the teacher could do was to mute him. But you know very well, the participants have this right to unmute themselves. He couldn't do anything, and the very next day the professor went for a superannuation. That is, he retired early, that I cannot handle this kind of pressure. So yeah, this is very difficult for older generation to go switch over to Android, and it has proven really a very great task for them. And moreover, there is no formal training. And since there is no formal training, it has also made the task a bit strenuous for both the teachers and the students and their parents. As parents, we also find it very difficult somehow when we are told that the children need to, visit this app and the homework will come on that app, they will attend classes on that app, and somehow it becomes very confusing. Writing and taking notes with pen seems easy to many. As a teacher, I think most of us would agree that when it comes to write a letter, we, instead of typing it, we always want a pen and a paper, and the work is done in no time. And if we have to type it, it is somewhere, sometimes we become a bit lazy. Now the next point is my favorite, that is Guru Shishya Parampara of Indian society seems staggered with the, with the advent of online mode of teaching. There is no denying the fact, as teachers and also as students, we do not feel that satisfaction of achievement after listening to a recorded lecture or in an online class when it is compared to face-to-face interaction in a traditional classroom setup. Management of syllabus is another challenge. Next slide. The lack of high bandwidth and the bad internet connection is an infrastructural challenge. There are several other technical issues along with it, like power supply issues, no technical assistance, like as I told you, my laptop crashed, and although I stay in a district, I faced a lot of issues in getting it repaired on time, and this caused me technical delays also for this recording and all. The required gadgets are also too expensive for majority of us Indians to afford actually, and it is definitely totally unfair to expect from a meager earning family to buy expensive Android phones or laptops to make online education accessible to their children. Even internet connection is expensive for such families who have been finding it difficult to manage daily needs during the lockdown due to the pandemic. They cannot go outside and make an earning. If they are not getting salary from their job, they cannot go outside either. So it has become very difficult for these people to manage these extra expenses, right? These extra expenses, they find it very difficult. Yeah, next slide. Other challenges are, in topical times, computer literacy is one of the major challenges for Indian population. Managing pace with online courses becomes even more difficult in regions with less or no internet connections. Lack of knowledge and encouragement in the family leads majority of the students to opt out of the courses. Like lack of motivation, seriousness and practice, it leads most of the students to opt out of the courses. Language also proves to be a major hindrance. Most of the apps and online courses have been designed in English, and it is a universal fact that English has always proven to be an Achilles heel for students, for Indian students, specifically from the rural background. Although there are certain apps who are making that have been designed in mother tongue also, but still the impact of apps designed in English is considered better. I don't know why. Perhaps it is the stereotypical scenario in our country. Next is, it is highly imperative to check the credibility of online courses. Next slide. Being electronic medium, e-learning cannot be used as a replacement for physical learning environment. Contrary to a physical classroom, an online class is often devoid of physical, social, emotional and moral development of the attendees. And online training seems boring sometimes, unlike a physical classroom where you can crack a joke when you see students getting bored. Such a thing cannot be expected in an online training session, right? Social interactions are actually completely left out in a virtual classroom. Long exposure to computers and mobile screens affect the health of students, both physically and mentally actually. Strain on eyes, constant headache are just a few to be mentioned over here. Next slide. Our institutions are also not yet prepared for holding online classes due to the existing abyss that is full of gendered, stereotypical and digital divides. Also, the lack of infrastructure hampers the digital development of Indian educational institutions. Next slide. Now, what can we do as a teacher? The point that we have all gathered here is we want to make our students habitual for online learning. the role of a teacher is highly important in this scenario. So the first point I would like to say is identify the original learning motive in your classroom. Why do you go and teach in your classroom? Is it to impart knowledge in the form of lectures only, that is primarily to communicate information or your ideas? If it is so, then try to understand the pulse of your students through polling or questions during the lecture itself. This will not only provide you with a real-time feedback of interest and engagement of your learners, but also encourage you as a teacher. Reinforce the information you shared by providing follow-up readings. Next slide. And if it is to make a class of students who are well adept in debates and are open to any kind of exchange of ideas, you can organize workshops and seminars, group-to-group interactions. For this, what you can do is share the framework for the interaction, provide them with some pre-reading, if any, before the event. This will not only ensure the productivity of the session, but also give the participants a kind of ownership. They will better understand the topics discussed, and also make sure that once the topic has been discussed, whatever the outcome is, it should be reinforced in the smaller group discussions. Try to reinforce the value of the outcome in small group discussion so that everyone is adept. Everyone gets a chance to speak. Everyone gets a chance to practice and to imitate what they have said. Yeah, next slide. Do you wish to foster a new creed of intellectuals who will discover or invent something? Is there a kind of a lab required for the same purpose? Science labs at undergraduate level can be easily and effectively taught online, just by with some or little modifications. The teacher can perform the experiment in his or her lab while the students can watch the experiment and note down the findings. Students can be asked to read some articles published online on the same topic. The teacher can himself provide these to the students for their reference. They can refer them to certain journals where the related articles are published, online journals. Or you can yourself provide them with some articles, perhaps from newspaper cuttings or something, which you can provide to your students, a photograph of them. That will certainly be helpful to your students. Next slide. What we can do as a teacher, ensure an all-comprehensive and all-inclusive class. Consider reworking your online course to take up less bandwidth, to be inclusive of learners who have weaker online connections. Try to involve everyone in your lecture. Keep your lecture very simple and engaging. Impart clear rules of interaction and set the stage for a successful interaction. Just state your expectations. A fixed dress code if you want it. Send an email reminding your learners of the objectives and outcomes for the course. Any adaptations to guidance about attendance, that if you want them to, what kind of students you want to join. If you know very well that your student is not well, you can tell him or her that he or she can, later on participate. Clarify them the situation, whether the lecture would be pre-recorded or it will be an online class. If you have a pre-recorded session, then how are you going to incorporate it in your teaching? Include basics about how to be respectful in an online class. When to ask questions, when and why to mute and unmute themselves. All these things. Teaching online definitely makes interpersonal communications very cold. It makes them cold. So eye contact with your learners is highly essential. Gaze directly at the webcam. Don't use much of hand gestures or facial expressions. This distracts the learner. It might be difficult for many of us. It is difficult for me as well to give that plain face, but be expressive in your language. And facial expressions can be avoided because in an online class it often distracts. Next is, be sure to have a process of signaling technical glitches in real time. You can have an adequate lighting. It may make a difference between what your learners see and how you want them to be seen. In general, audio is critical for transmitting learnings in online classes. Check that your audio is up to spec through test calls. You can make a test call before. If possible, secure an external microphone, and be sure to slow down the pace of your intervention. Make liberal use of the mute function to reduce background noises, or certainly there is the most dreaded portion in an online class is that echo chamber, when tong tong tong, all these sounds, they are repeated again and again. And if something like that happens, please try to be calm and just mute yourself. I think the problem will be solved. Next slide. Always remember that practice makes a man perfect. If I personally believe that you never stop learning since your birth. Even if you become a teacher, keep on learning new things. The process of the present situation, it has posed new challenge before the teachers. Online teaching, which requires a lot of effort and practice. You have to just practice. My advice is that we should run a test class first, practice transitions between slides and videos. Also try communicating with all the students in virtual class, which will ensure maximum participation. You can name them and you can call them. Try to be as concise and engaging as you can. As a teacher, we might have a lot of content to impart to our students, but keep attention spans in mind. A well-experienced fact is that what I have also noticed in my online classes since March, that students, they lose interest after 15-20 minutes. It will be better that if we limit our classes to 45 minutes. This limit is enough. This limit can ensure that our learners are motivated enough, focused enough during the class activities and discussions, and try to give some kind of activities during this classroom. Try to, if you need more time, consider multiple sessions with breaks in between. Create a narrative for each class. Use polls, virtual breakout rooms, videos, open questions to re-energize your learners and surprise them with effectiveness of this 45-minute class that you have. Activity-based learning that is my personal experience. It has proven its effectiveness in online classrooms, in virtual classroom. It has always been experienced. Give a small and refreshing break to avoid monotony. Give them a break of 5 to 10 minutes. Continuously staring at screen, sitting for long periods. It leads to anxiety sometimes. And also, as a teacher, when you are speaking for a long time, you also need a break. You can give them that small break of 5 or 10 minutes. Okay, go and have a glass of water. If you want to refresh yourself, you can go. This break will not only refresh your learners, but it will also re-energize them. You can also use a physical exercise in the beginning to, a kind of an ice-breaking session, a prayer before starting the session. By doing so, you are boosting the energy of your learners while still attempting to maintain their physical and mental sanity in these times of depression. Promote peer interaction for better community. Encourage debates and discussions. Organize live sessions of discussions with set participation rules to avoid chaos. Throw some challenges to be solved, some problems to be discussed to promote interactions. Learning should not be passive, and it does not end with online class. Design and plan for some kind of human interaction. If possible, an outside class, maybe a group video call, a WhatsApp group, you can create them to reinforce the learning and promote idea exchanges and debates. Always keep in mind that peer-to-peer learning, with the help of students, to look at new perspectives of concepts being taught. In my literature class, to encourage peer group interaction, what I do is always tell my student that no interpretation is ever wrong. It is just the perspective and the context that matters. So whatever you are interpreting, even a small poem, I always start with this normal poem that we have been taught as a nursery rhyme, that is Johnny Johnny yes papa eating sugar dough. So I give them this poem as a riddle. Why don't you interpret it for me? Now a common nursery rhyme, how are they going to interpret it? So, but yeah, students come with beautiful interpretations. Sometimes even what you have not even envisaged. Okay, this can also be an interpretation. This, develops their critical thinking ability and also their communication skills, right? This also encourages teamwork. Ice-breaking sessions, I always tell them to make a star and in the middle write their own name. And in the rest of the triangles of the star, why don't they write something about themselves which only they know about themselves, but the rest of the world is not aware of, like their hobbies. Perhaps a student in an IT section, who would expect an IT section student to be interested in literature? And how can a student of mathematics is not much expected to write a poetry, a poem. He would tell me that I am a very good cook. We never expected that. These kind of interactions, they also encourage teamwork. Gradually students become, they start to know each other and they start to, learn from each other. Teamwork is encouraged with these kind of things. Yeah, next slide. This is one of the most important things that I wanted to share with everyone. And although I have attended many seminars as a participant also on this very topic, I found it missing in most of that is empathize and not sympathize. There is a world of difference between empathize and sympathize. I'll begin at this point with the real life incident. One of my students, he lost his mother to a deadly disease almost 2-3 years ago, and he was very attentive in class. He had always been regularly present in the class. Somehow, being the only child, he was not told of his mother's condition by his family, and all of a sudden he stopped coming to the class. And when he didn't come for around 1 month, I was a bit worried that why isn't he coming, and I asked his classmate what was the problem. They told me, ma'am, he has lost his mother and he's still at his home. And we decided that we won't show our sympathy to him for this. We'll show that it was our own, we will feel that loss as our own. Since I had also lost my parent, my mother, few years ago, I could resonate with him, that the pain he might have been going through. So when he came back, I told him frankly that, okay, child, if you don't want to come to the class, you can skip my class for another 1 or 2 weeks. Just be normal and then come to the class. I'll try to manage your lectures as much as I can. I can provide you with the contents if you want me. All the syllabus that has been covered, I'll provide you with the notes of them if you want me to do. He simply negated. He simply said, ma'am, being in class actually offers me solace. That now he could not, specifically in my class, he said, I cannot see any more faces full of sympathy. I was so much happy because his reason resonated with mine. I had also been a similar pain few years ago, and when I lost my mother, and I could at that time also, being in class teaching, while teaching, it always offered me kind of a sanctuary where I could forget everything, indulge in my passion for teaching and learning. I could see that. So I feel that empathy is better than sympathy. Stoop down to the level of that person. Okay. Today also, due to this COVID-19 situation, almost all the students, educational institutions across the world, they have stopped face-to-face interactions in classrooms. Almost every second person we meet or we know is going through tough times, whether it be financial, whether it be physical, or it is emotional. Now this is the time for empathy and not sympathy. Next slide. Most of the students, specifically from conservative backgrounds, never come forward and discuss their problems with the teachers. So as human beings and not as teachers, I stress on it as human beings. We must empathize with every student in the class. Remember, beyond the electronic connection, we need to connect emotionally. So, especially in these times of anxiety and uncertainty, emotions are the key to learning. Antonio Damasio, this reminds me of these lines, I could not help but writing it here, that we are not thinking machines, we are feeling machines that think. Think about those students, who don't have a good educational and emotionally good atmosphere at their home, to whom hostels, classrooms must have served as a sanctuary. Students who would have found solace within the college, or those students who relied on college for their sustenance, mental stability and security. In other words, if we start thinking of such students, there will be a list of many students, right? So how can we as teachers be able to balance our students' mental and emotional loads so that they do not feel alone? Yeah, definitely by showing our empathy towards them. Here are some of the tips. Next slide. Email or text your students to remind them that you are still there for them. Make some light-hearted statements. Be a little bit casual in your writing so that they can resonate with your words. Remind them of some past lessons that you taught in class. This will encourage them to start reading again, look forward to online sessions with you. Be positive and optimistic in your language. This will motivate them. Next slide. Offer students an opportunity to exchange phone numbers, and for those who are interested, help them create a WhatsApp group chat. I stress on it, who are interested. So where they can be allowed to discuss some non-academic things as well. For example, people can start discussing COVID-19 situation. You can throw a challenge to them. Why don't you all make a poster? Let's have a poster competition. Let's have a slogan writing competition. Let's have a quiz on it. So these kind of interactions, in WhatsApp groups would also encourage, motivate them actually. As a group admin, you always have you can always monitor them, interfere in their discussion as and when necessary. You can remove the participants, you can add the participants, entirely keep the whole control in your hand, and I think it will work wonders. And practically it has worked wonder for me. In my when the classes suddenly all of a sudden stopped in second week of March in Punjab, we were left with nothing to do. It was I at that time thought most of my students were worried because in April is the time for final examination, so they were all worried, ma'am, syllabus is not yet complete, how are we going to do that? And most of them were going through anxiety because their parents, some of their parents or family members were COVID-19 warriors, frontline warriors as they are called, so they were all going through a kind of a depression. Some of them were anxious about their exams. Some of them were anxious about their family's health. And yeah, COVID-19, when it struck us, we all were like kind of awed by it, that we all wanted to avoid it. Somehow we didn't want to accept it. At that time when we created this group, students, they created this group, we gave them certain activities. Some of the students, I told them to pen down a poem. I told them to write a story if they have any. I told them to do anything that gave them relief. So students came up with beautiful poems. They came up with beautiful stories. They came up with beautiful experiences. Some of them made very beautiful posters. And I always had that power with me, that I can remove you from the group if you misbehave. Yeah, you can be blocked. So this was the thing. Always remind your students that you are there from them. Whenever I enter my classroom, I always write on the board my phone number and my email ID. If you had noticed, or even on this presentation, I had written my email ID. I always give the students my email ID and the phone number, where they can send me their writings, their experiences or their queries if they have any, and I always answer them as and when I'm free. They know ma'am will answer sooner or later. Next slide. Don't be afraid to make mistakes. We all live in a just let your personality shine through. We all live in a virtual world right now. Please don't be afraid. I agree that virtual classroom, these virtual spaces, it becomes confusing sometimes, and as a teacher we never want our students to miss that critical information that we want to convey to them. Provide them with certain links, some free ebooks if possible, which they can use for future reference. Just provide them with an email ID where they can send you all their, as I told you earlier also a few minutes ago, that I have also provided the students with an email ID where they can all send their latest works, compositions at one place. So I know if my students, my duty is only once in a day, I have to check that email. If there are certain emails that interest me, that are that I can answer, I reward them, and this actually boosts their confidence as well. And do ask for their feedback. Recapitulate your past lecture in every next class. This will be very helpful, and this will keep them attentive. Do ask questions, but please don't condemn them if they answer wrong. Incorporate variety of communication styles. I don't think so I need to focus much on this. In variety of communication styles, you cannot just limit yourself to one specific language. You can use your mother tongue as well. It's okay. It's very okay. In an online classroom, it's definitely very okay if you shift. If in a literature classroom I shift to Hindi language, if I am teaching English and all of a sudden I shift to Hindi or Punjabi, I think it's absolutely okay. My point is just to bring home the point to the students. They should better understand. And in my literature classroom, whenever I'm teaching them some terms, the literary terms, specifically similes, metaphors, metonymy, I always refer to the Bollywood movies. Protagonist, antagonist, whenever I have to tell them, I always refer to the Bollywood movies, which they are all aware of, and they can actually resonate with the characters and they are able to better understand them. Just incorporate variety of communication styles. Yeah, next slide. That was what as teachers we can do. What can the students do? Number one, they should choose for an online course that is dynamic and interactive. Yeah, sorry for that disturbance. It was actually something fell. I'm sorry. So what I was saying, that what can students do? They can choose for an online course that is dynamic and interactive. A course that is full of fun and interaction. It motivates the student to work and learn better. Check the credibility of courses before joining. There are multiple fraudsters, please, who are minting money by offering fraudulent degrees and diplomas. Students should beware before choosing the online course and check the credibility of the same. And as teachers, I think we should also help them out by telling them which course is better to join and which not. Focus on studies, whatever way, online or offline. Don't let the COVID situation come in the way of your successful future. Don't make it an excuse that it is COVID situation. We don't know whether we are going to live or die. Let us be happy and be merry and avoid studies. No, these days, specifically when these messages are circulating, you don't need education. Actually, we never thought we don't need education. The doctors who are fighting for us, the nurses who are helping us during this pandemic, the police personals, they have all been on that positions just because of education. So never undermine the value of education, and don't make this situation an excuse for your successful future. Be compassionate. Your teachers, be compassionate towards your classmates as well as towards your teacher. Technical glitches should not be a source of mockery for you. Don't mock at these kind of situations. There suddenly, all of a sudden, there was the teacher was talking, and all of a sudden she had a call from her husband. Let's say the teacher was taking an online class, and all of a sudden her child appeared on screen. These are normal things. Please ignore them. These are going to happen. And in a recorded lecture, of course, this won't happen. The teacher will be considerate. But in an online class, these things can happen. All of a sudden, the net connection might be very bad, that the call might drop. The call might drop again and again. Be compassionate. Be calm during these times. So don't, here you are actually, I would simply say that don't forget that Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, right? Here you are having a virtual God in your teacher who is on the other side of the screen. So be full of respect for him or her. They are also doing their hard work for you. Always remember the words of Malala Yousafzai when she said, I'll get my education even if it is in home, school or any place. Right? Next slide. Now what can the government do? I hope this word reaches our leading internet providers of the country. Please provide subsidies on internet packs for the students and the teachers. We really need them, and I really hope this is provided especially for the people in rural areas. They really need it. And please try to fill in technical bugs as soon as possible. Nothing should come in the way of education. Invest more on education sector. This is the high time when we should realize that education sector needs more investment, more attention than ever, than anything else. Education sector should never be compromised. It should never be compromised. In these times of, as I earlier said, that in these times of corona crisis, the frontline warriors, as we call them, our nurses, the doctors, the IAS, the policemen, they are all products of education sector. They are all products of education sector. Why don't you invest more in it? The countries like Germany, where education, countries like Switzerland, where education sectors are, more investment is done on education sectors, they have come out of this situation very easily. They are not facing any kind of trouble in these times, unlike we who are sitting in our homes. People in these countries, because education is considered primary in these countries. So I think the government should invest more on education sector and introduce a blended model. Let it be for future. That we should learn it from these times, that we need a blended model of education, offline and online model of education. We need to rethink our teaching technologies. We need to consider it that students in offline, students should learn to interact in online modes as well with their teachers. And most of all, the government should address the practical problems that are faced by our teachers. For this, a committee can be formed at national level that should address the practical problems faced by the teachers. And as I told you a few minutes ago, that in countries like Switzerland, the teachers are considered the builders of the society. And it is high time that in India too, that due respect and remuneration to the teachers be granted. Next slide. So now I'll conclude my lecture that by saying that, remember, online teaching is not the permanent solution to the current crisis in education sector. A well-planned and blended model of education needs to be addressed. Teachers should also be flexible enough to embrace this change, and our students will also become habitual eventually. The moment we become habitual of giving them these online trainings, the students will also embrace this change. The teachers should be flexible. Remember that learning should never stop. Even as this reminds me of one of my colleagues. He was my senior, and I was very new. That way back in 2003 when I joined, I was a very young girl, and who had been still, I was in post-graduation when I was offered a job, and it was like, everything came very smoothly to me. And my teacher, I revere him very much. He also happened to be now my colleague now. Right? Initially he was my teacher, now he was my colleague, and we both attended a workshop together. We were selected by the Punjab government. We were selected by our, few selected candidates from Punjab itself who were selected for this workshop by the Punjab government. So in this workshop, when we were introducing ourselves, that ice breaking session, kindly introduce yourself, everyone was saying, hi, I am so and so, teacher of political science. Hi, I am so and so, teacher of social science. Hi, I am so and so, teacher of chemistry. Sir stood up, and it made me so proud when he introduced himself. He said, hi, I won't name him, a student of philosophy. I was so proud. I'm so proud of him. Dr. Ambush Sharma. He's introduced himself as, hi, I'm Dr. Ambush Sharma, a student of philosophy. And everyone was looking at him. And I was telling everyone, somewhere hashing and telling, he's my teacher. He's also my teacher. So then when I asked him, sir, why did you introduce yourself as a student of learning philosophy? He said, Savita, learning should never stop. The day you stop learning, teacher's life is just like that running stream of water. Encapsulate every education that comes your way. Learn from everything. Even if you had a bad experience, learn from that bad experience. Learn from it. Embrace the change. And you will never stagnate. When the running water stops, it starts stagnating. It starts giving out that foul smell. Don't let that happen. So I think as teachers, we all would agree over here that learning should never stop. We should never stop. And for this, if we are attending webinars, workshops, seminars, we should learn from even our youngsters. Even if I consider myself a senior now, I should be ready to learn something from my junior. Perhaps my student might also be having something to teach me. I should learn from him or her. It is high time that we act now, or we will have to repent the loss of standard of education in our country. I think it is the high time that we should start acting now. With this, I finish my presentation. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everybody. The main speaker of this national webinar, Professor Savita Grover, the head of our English department, Professor Dr. A.D. Joshi, Professor P.A. Pradhan, Dr. M.S. Patil, and very good technical support, Professor D.B. Salunkhe, and dear all participants. I'm indeed very happy to have organized this kind of very, very pragmatically useful webinar on how to make students habitual to online teaching. And Professor Savita Grover has very nicely given very, very useful tips to all the teachers on online teaching and learning. In fact, online teaching or e-learning is not a novel concept at all. We have been using it for last decade or so. It has become an ancillary system in teaching and learning process during last 2-3 decades. In COVID-19 pandemic situation during last 5 months, everything is now uncertain. All the sectors are locked down. Education system is very much locked down during this time. And therefore, it's a demand of time to make it a main course and not an ancillary system. Online teaching and learning is expected to be a main course now. Indeed, it's a very good alternative and can be used effectively to serve in emergency period. When you are sufficiently equipped. What needed is just a literacy of online teaching and learning strategies. A short, small training to both teachers and students will suffice to acquaint with this online teaching and learning strategy. Something is taken when something is given, and therefore students are at taking end, teachers at giving end. So teachers must start giving something through online teaching. Professor Grover has given very, very nice tips, as I said, how to make teaching and learning interesting. Until and unless there is interest among students, students can't learn, rather nobody can learn without interest. So to make teaching and learning interesting process, different strategies are to be used. This teaching and learning process has to be made very, very interactive. Maybe various techniques used, workshops, seminars, some games. So in this way, it has to be made very, very interesting. A big account of such strategies and suggestions has been given by Savita Grover. She has also talked about some challenges. Yes, there are challenges in teaching and learning online in India specifically. I must tell you that India is the single largest country in the world with a poor population of 41%. These people are deprived of many basic things. And therefore, looking at their deprivation, how we can give them online education. So this is a big challenge. The government has to look after this. Again, she has talked about the old generation of teachers. Since this online teaching has become, all of a sudden has become a main course and mandatory for teachers, the senior most teachers, old teachers, seem a bit reluctant to this, as they are unskilled. Most of them are unskilled in using this. And that is again a challenge. Then there are technical issues. Net connectivity. As I told you that 41% people are deprived from these basic things. And therefore, there are technical issues that they don't have Android mobiles. In rural area, there is no connectivity, and so on. There is again problem of management of syllabus that is there. Then she has very emphatically made a point that all-round development of a student is not possible through online teaching at all. It's true. In pandemic period, it is main course. It cannot substitute the conventional education system. So there should be a very good blend of mixture of offline and online education in our education system. To make the students habitual, I feel formation of habit depends upon the repetition of action. If action is repeated, it becomes habit. And if habit is cherished, it becomes sentiment of a person. And for that, teacher has to see that students should have action training, listening training, learning training through online process. And therefore, teacher has to take initiative in that by using various interesting strategies. And when once teachers start using interesting strategies, automatically it will be a demand of students. For that, workshops, seminars, interactive sessions, all these things should be very nicely and effectively implemented. Time constraint should be taken care of, because online learning means watching the screen, staring at screen for a long time. And if you are delivering a serious lecture for 30-40 minutes, it becomes monotonous. Moreover, the entire syllabus cannot be taught that successfully through online system. It's a big amount of information, knowledge and skill, so that cannot be done that way. Professor Grover has talked about government role in this entire scenario. Government has to enable the deprived ones by availing online technology, by investing in education without any compromise. Our education system has been neglected during the post-independence period, we know. The sufficient budget is not allotted to education, and therefore we are having a very, very poor education system in India. And for online system, the government has to spend maximum budget on education, and then only all these deprived people will be in mainstream. She has given a very nice message in the end of her presentation. All the teachers should take it seriously. That, dear teachers, act now, or the standard of education will be at stake. Friends, it is the duty of all the stakeholders in education system to work efficiently during this COVID-19 pandemic period, to give maximum to our students who are not able to attend classes. Parents are worried. All are worried. And therefore, let us make this online teaching and learning process successful by giving our lessons to the students very, very effectively and interestingly. Ultimately, I congratulate the team of my college, Professor Dr. Joshi, Vinod Pradhan, Dr. M.S. Patil, and D.P. Salunke, and all other teachers who have taken efforts to organize this very nice webinar. I congratulate them and also I thank them. Professor Savita Grover, you are a very good teacher. Your presentation is very lucid, to the point, and very precise. You are really very good teacher. Thanks for your very nice presentation. I also thank all the participants taking part in this one-day webinar. Thank you all.
I am very much thankful to resource person Savita Grover, Assistant Professor of English, Punjab University, SSG Regional Center, Hoshiarpur, for her scholarly address. I am also thankful to Honorable Secretary of Jai Shivrai Education Society Murugur and sitting MP Sanjay Dada Mandlik for his cooperation. I am also thankful to our young dynamic leader and chairman of College Development Committee, Advocate Virendra Mandlik, for his cooperation and support. I am thankful to the principal of my college, Dr. Arjun Kumbhar, for his presidential address. I am thankful to Dr. Mrs. M.S. Patil, Professor D.P. Salunke, and Dr. Uday Kumar Shinde, and all my colleagues for their valuable support and cooperation. My special thanks to Professor Vinod Pradhan, who took a lot of efforts to make this webinar successful. I am very much thankful to all the participants who made this webinar successful. Thank you, one and all.